Bathroom Breaks and Bedtime Tales presents Tech Genius by Sevastian Winters.
Noah Vance watched with satisfaction as the final announcement was made. The Kremlin issued its final ultimatum. If the Allies do not capitulate and surrender, the war will turn nuclear.
He smiled and took a slow sip of brandy. Finally, the game was breaking. Tomorrow, the mainframe would reveal itself. The source code would unfold before his eyes, and he would see the machinery that had governed the simulation all along. The world was never real. He had known it for years. He had told people, of course, on podcasts, in long, rambling interviews, in viral social media posts that his loyal followers parroted back to him with glee. The odds of this being base reality are 1 in a billion. Nobody had taken him seriously. They had laughed because they believed they were real. But no one knew better. They were NPCs, every single last one of them. Everyone but him.
Mouths that flapped when programmed to. Arguments that looped, predictable as a bad script. They thought they were people, but they weren't. Only he was real. And like any player in an open-world game, if you wanted to win, you needed the best gear. And if you wanted the best gear, you needed the most gold. So he took it. All of it. And now, standing in the glass tower of his empire, watching the last days of the world unfold, he prepared for the next level. The first step was control. He bought everything. Industry, infrastructure, food, water, fuel. Anything with a ledger, anything with a number, he owned it. Then came influence. He purchased a social network, gutted its engineers, and refashioned it into a megaphone for his believers. They called it free speech, but he understood what it really was: control. It wasn't enough to own the world. He had to own the people inside it. So he latched on to a fool, a man hungry for power, desperate to be worshipped. He fed him money, media, a kingdom of lies. He used his money, his influence, his social network, and some advanced coding, and he made the man a king. And then Noah became the viceroy in charge of government efficiency. This was the real power behind the throne. Through the process of proving inefficiencies, he could dismantle the most important guardrails and safety nets of the government. But he had to be careful. The game was well coded. If he pushed too hard, too fast, the system would correct itself. And it didn't help that the king himself was unstable and could reset the game at any moment. It had happened before, though. He was sure he wasn't the first coder to try to reveal the game, to break it and gain access to the mainframe. But he was sure this time would be the last. He was too smart to fail. And the game, while well coded, was clearly too stupid for him. Empires had fallen too cleanly in history, the world always rebalancing itself, as if the simulation patched the errors. But he knew if he did it carefully, this time, it would break. So he moved slowly. He changed small things first, not enough for the game to notice, but enough to start the cascade. They tried to stop him. They wrote essays, short stories, allegories, warnings disguised as fiction. They screamed into the void in the only way they could. The Man Who Broke the Mirror, a short story written by an indie author about a billionaire so obsessed with proving the world was a simulation that he destroyed everything in the process. It won a few awards, the sort granted by the sorts of people who consider themselves more important than they really are. Nobody who read it mattered, and the people who did read it forgot about it the moment Noah gave them something else shiny to look at. The Myth of the Debugger, an academic paper published in a niche philosophy journal, dissecting the God complex of the ultra-rich, the dangers of unchecked delusion. It was cited exactly 3 times before disappearing. We Are Real, a viral video essay, a desperate plea from an independent journalist, explaining in simple, brutal detail how one man was leading the world toward collapse. It got shadow banned, drowned in bots and noise. The warnings were there. The world simply refused to listen, and so Noah kept going. The next step was war, a necessary escalation. The world had to be pushed to the edge, nudged toward collapse.
Noah destabilized currencies. He crashed markets, then resurrected them at his whim. He starved entire countries by disrupting supply chains, just to see if the game would correct itself. It didn't. Which meant he was right. The game was waiting, so he pushed further. War erupted, not at once. First, conflicts on the edges, localized battles. Terror attacks, drone strikes, nations turning against each other in ways that should have been impossible.
But the game allowed it, and Noah knew he was getting close. And then, the announcement, the threat of nuclear annihilation. Noah smiled and took another sip of his brandy. He knew there would be no surrender. That's just not how these NPCs did business. For the first time, he hesitated before taking another sip of brandy, not because he doubted himself, but because he knew what came next, and it excited him. The next day, Noah watched a wall of monitors as the game began to crumble. The first city fell, not by accident, not by diplomacy, by nuclear fire. The mushroom cloud rose, blotting out the sky. The world watched in horror. Noah watched in triumph. This is it, he thought. This is the final stress test. Any second now, the reset would come. The system architects would intervene. The game would reveal itself.
Any second now. The second bomb dropped, then the third, then the fourth.
Noah watched through the glass of his tower as the world burned. The sky turned red, then black, then gone. The city below vanished into fire. His glass of brandy slipped from his fingers. He didn't move. He just watched. Because any moment now, he would see the truth. The mainframe, the code, the architects.
Any second now. The light swallowed the tower.
And then, for the first time, something in the pit of his stomach felt off, something he hadn't anticipated, a whisper of doubt.
He reached for his brandy. His hand shook slightly. Not enough for the game to notice, just enough for him to feel.
White-hot light enveloped him. Then, nothing. There was no reset, no source code, no hidden reality waiting to be revealed. Only fire, only silence, only the erasure of a world that had once been real. Noah Vance was gone, not deleted, not transferred, just dead. The only real player in the world, and he had taken everything and everyone with him.